Hi,
It's Doc
everybody.
it's Dr. Cammie and Nikki. We're back on a Monday and
Our Motivation Monday. Whoop,
Motivation
whoop,
Monday,
whoop.
and we just want to be real. We just want to have a girls talk today. Is that what we want to do, Cammie?
Yeah, that sounds really good. Like we're sitting
Okay.
around having a cup of coffee that's decaf. No, there's still caffeine in that. We're having some herbal decaf tea. Oh, sparkling water.
Yes,
Sparkling water. That's really what I
ice
drink.
water. Yeah. No, we've both had some hiccups lately, and we just want to be honest, and we just want to talk about all this stuff because that's what we do, right? To process and stay on the path and encourage each other and encourage you guys too.
Yeah. And so I think it's really important when you're trying to figure out what your path is, right? Nikki and
Yep.
I were talking offline about how difficult it can be to figure out what really is abstinence for you. And when you look around and you try to learn and you look at all the different people that were on the Sugar Summit and you look at people that you listen to on all the different podcasts and everybody, abstinence is different for different people. And so it's really difficult to figure out what's good for you. And when you're like Nikki and you want to do it just right, you want to get 100%, and you're like Cammie, who's just like Nikki, then, it's really frustrating because, nobody knows how to tell you exactly what to do and exactly how to live your life and exactly how to balance it and whether or not you're going to be able to eat some of the borderline foods or not eat them and what's going to work for you long term successful, which is something that you can handle and that you can manage and that you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, and you guys, I was telling Cammie, like, I wasn't supposed to be able to have kids, but I unexpectedly got pregnant with my son, and I was studying to be a mom like it was like the state bar, you know? I was reading every single parenting book that was in the library, plus all the other ones that I bought. And it was like I knew I had knowledge about every little thing that could go wrong during labor, the developmental things. I made sure I had each year and what was the expectations for development and all that kind of stuff, what to ask the pediatrician. And so there's this part of me that just thinks that if I have enough knowledge and I study enough and I apply myself, that I'll be prepared and then I'll be able to make the marks, just like somebody who's going to college or whatever. And it's like, this is life. This is not an exam, and we're humans. Like, no matter how much we study and get the best guru or coaches or whatever, excuse my French, but we're gonna fuck this up. Because we're not perfect. That's just part of being human. So I just was laughing with her because I want abstinence to be like very cut and dry. And I want somebody to just tell me how I can do this perfectly so that I can execute for you. And it's just, isn't that the addiction talking though? To be perfect and to like do it all right and everything. It's just, yeah, like you said, this is the craziness that goes on in my mind.
Yeah. And then part of me says, well, just don't eat sugar, don't eat flour, don't eat wheat, don't drink caffeine, don't have any of the borderline foods, and you'll be fine. Just eat beef, bacon, butter, eggs. Just go carnivore and
Yeah.
eat beef, bacon, butter, and eggs. And butter is kind of considered a dairy item, right? So that's so I guess it would just be beef, bacon, and eggs. But I can't sustain a life like that. I can't enjoy a life like that, I look
Hmm.
forward to my cucumbers with, I used to not be able to eat them with oil and vinegar. I had to have a vinaigrette dressing, which had sugar in it. But now I really enjoy them with oil and vinegar on them.
Hmm.
And they're delicious. And I look forward to those and I enjoy them. And I don't know, vegetables, some people say might not be great for you and that you don't necessarily need them. But for me, and it's also, I think also you have to remember that for me, for now,
Yeah.
this is what's going on. When I make my food plan the night before and I say, hey, for me, for tomorrow, what's going to be going on for me? How is my life going to be running? What's going to work for me? What foods do I have in my refrigerator? How is it going to be something that I can sustain and be able to have all of my other tools available to me so that when life goes in a different way than you had anticipated or managed, you can handle it?
Yes, I totally agree. And I think where I get hitched up too is like if we do have a trip or we do get put in a situation where, the food's not 100% clean, but I make the best decision that I can make given that situation. There's a part of me that is like, well, you weren't 100% abstinent. There could have been something in that food. And then the other part of me is like, yeah, but I made the best decision at the time. So doesn't my intention count? Because I wasn't behaving in an addictive fashion, right? I wasn't like going into the situation saying, like, I'm just going to go wild and have this. No, I picked the best thing that was on the menu or that was available at the party or whatever. And then I ate like a mindful serving and ate like a crazy person, so that has to count for something. And, that goes into like the gray area of that. Maybe that meal wasn't 100% abstinent. Like maybe there was some stuff in there. But in that situation, that person did the best that they could. So in my mind, they did do a good job. Right. And so there's all this, nuance and gray area. And I think that, for people who are type A or we've been people pleasers all our lives, just speaking for myself, that gets hard because you want to be, doing it the way that, everyone expects you to do it, which is perfect, right?
Right. Yeah. And the other thing too is that everybody's definition of abstinence is different, I think, and it moves around, right? It moves around. Like for instance, when you're home, it's easier to be abstinent, right? And then there's some things that you can do to help your abstinence. Like if you're going to a restaurant and you can look at the menu ahead of time, you can call them and speak to the chef. I did that one the other day, not too long ago. You can plan ahead, or sometimes you can eat a little bit before you go so that you eat less when you're at the restaurant. I mean, there's different tricks and things that you can do
For sure.
to try to keep your abstinence as best as you can off of the sugar and the flour and the caffeine. So
Yeah.
yeah, it takes, and you get better with experience, right? You get better
Yeah,
as you are, working on it more and more and more. And I think that we could both agree that any type of ultra processed food
for sure.
is something that you should not be eating. And that's, all the trigger foods for me.
Yeah, definitely. And we know that those processed foods are like drugs. They're engineered to make us not wanna just have that one package of them. It's meant to have you go down a rabbit hole and just be off to the races. And, expecting ourselves to be moderate with that stuff is kinda crazy town, right? It's like, "Let me just have a little lick of cocaine," I'll be alright.
Right. Right, especially for an addict, for somebody who truly is addicted to these things. I was in one of our sugar meetings today, and we were talking about how um, it really fits with us to think of sugar as an addiction and to really treat it as such. And so, when your body is biochemically dealing with it that way, it takes some of the shame and guilt out of it too, right? Because there's such a biochemical reactions and things that occur in your body when you ingest that and get it into your body that makes it really, really hard to stop. That's why you have to be careful with accidental ingestions, like we'll talk about those. And I've noticed that if I have just a bite of something and I notice there's quite a bit of sugar in it, I stop immediately. I don't finish what that is because that's just
Mhm.
going to make it harder and harder for me to be abstinent the next day.
Yeah, for sure. And sorry, it says my internet is unstable, so I hope you guys can still hear me.
That's okay.
Can you still hear
Riverside
me okay?
generally takes, yeah, and Riverside will take care of that pretty much.
Yeah. And sometimes, even while you're in the bite, you can taste it and you're like, there's a part of you that wants to keep going, but then you have to say, get that out of there? And sometimes I'll even have to spit it out because I'm like Mike says, that just tasted too good. I know there's something in there, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So hopefully our little discussion here gives you some ideas about how to give yourself some grace, right? Because we're all in this boat together trying to figure out what works best for us. Talk to people who have been abstinent. I know there's people that have been abstinent in our sugar and flour community for 3, 4, 7 years, and they figured out a way that works well for them. So it's
yep.
good to be sharing with them and coming to the meetings, and they're in there and letting us know how to do the deal. Yeah, just taking it one day at a time, I think is really helpful too.
Yeah, and I think the number one thing is not to quit because when you quit, that's when you're out of the game, and you'll never win because if we let ourselves stay in the ditch for too long, that's when we're just not, you know, we're going to go back and that's not good. So if we even if we veer a little bit off course, we'll correct the plane and get it back going, and it goes off course and we correct it. And that's the true reality of life is like, there is no one playbook for us all. Wouldn't we love that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much. We'll see you next time on Motivation Monday, which I'm not quite sure. I'm going on vacation, so I'm not quite sure when this is going to air, but it'll be good. All right, everybody. Thank you so much, Nikki. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Have a wonderful vacation. You deserve it, my dear.
All right. Thanks. Bye.